Hello, welcome to my channel Conscious Growing, and I'm Matthias. So in today's video I want to talk about emotions once again, but I want to have a different look on it. And I also want to explain in this video why it doesn't work to calm down the nervous system in many cases. I wouldn't say there's no benefit of methods and ways to calm down the nervous system a little bit. But I would say if we don't identify the underlying cause, the underlying issue, we will never solve the whole problem. And if you were listening to my videos for a while, you might say, now, wow, he's changing course in a way. Because usually I always speak about you don't need to go to the future, to the past, and you don't need to go there and find the one thing that started your anxiety, your fears, your symptoms. And even in this video, I'm not talking about that. But what I'm talking about is there are some thought and emotional patterns, and were built up most likely in many years or sometimes even decades, because for most of us we have these childhood traumas, issues where we developed some unhealthy patterns for a good reason. And so what you can do, you can identify these patterns from the past and the here and now, and that's enough. Because what I deeply believe is that the cause of anxiety and the cause of chronic symptoms is all based by repressed emotions. And then what easily happens when we are in these states, we feel the anxiety, and then we feel these weird symptoms. We have these crazy thoughts. We're in fight or flight, sometimes even in the freeze state, and we don't know what to do with ourselves. So it sometimes can feel like you are in some kind of a washing machine and you have no idea how to get out of it. So you're surviving, you're trying to survive. And that's actually what you have done in the past. But now there's the opportunity to process these stuck, suppressed emotions. And even then, the brain might say, okay, I have to process, I have to find them, I have to do something about it. And this is a misconception, because this is not needed, because your subconscious brings up the topics it can process in the moment. In other words, usually when we are on the surface level of things, we are focused on our symptoms. In the very beginning, we are trying to find out where does it come from. We ruminate about it, we try to collect informations, we start to do some techniques to calm down the nervous system, all these things. But if we look deeper, underneath the symptoms, we have emotions. And in the realm of anxiety, you might have a whole list of sensations and thoughts and feelings. But here we have to see the difference between feelings and emotions. So we can, because the way we feel can be very random, but as far as I see it, under the anxiety, there are three core emotions. And these core emotions are sadness, anger, and fear. So if you look closer with time, you will see on the bottom of your sensations or underneath your sensations, it's always one of those. Because sadness includes grief, anger includes rage, it's just another level of anger. And fear can have many levels. For example, when you have physical symptoms, you can be scared of the physical symptoms. So there is this chemistry in your system and you are scared of that. But the underlying emotion is fear. And the more you learn, the more you are able to filter these main emotion out. So you're not on the surface level of the symptoms so much anymore. You look a little bit deeper, a little bit closer. So this needs your attention in a new way. Because before you might have just been with your sensations and you measured your process, how intense the symptoms are. When they are less intensive, you see it as a progress, and if they are very intense, you think you're back to square one. And this easily happens, and this pattern is so strong. But then you're just like a little boat on the ocean, and the waves are high, and this boat is not capable to go through the storm because it desperately tries to get out of the storm. But if you learn with time to look closer and to identify, oh, this is some fear right now. I feel fear. I acknowledge this fear. I have fear. I don't know why, but it is fear. And so the question can be, how can I process these emotions then? Because of course I'm aware when I'm angry. Of course I'm aware when I'm sad. Of course I felt this for weeks, months, and even years already, but nothing happened because the anger, the sadness, and the fear, it comes back again and again and again and again, and I'm just in the survival mode and trying to avoid and go away from it and so on. And I find it very important to change the view on this. So first of all, when you have a closer look, you will learn to see, this is actually pure anger right now. There's old anger coming up. And usually it's combined with a thought or with thoughts. I want to give an example, a personal example. And this example is, in my personal case, it was the fear of not being good enough, or also I'm not able to, I'm overwhelmed by life, by everything life was asking. But this was of course an old pattern. I took too much responsibility in my early years, in my childhood years, and I wanted to be good, I wanted to be this achiever, I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to be the best, and all this kind of stuff. And that was a lot of pressure. So now, when the system was saying, I'm overwhelmed, I bring you symptoms, then there was this relationship between my thoughts, like, oh my God, this is enough, this is too much, I can't handle this, I'm overwhelmed, too many tasks at the same time. And so my system kind of shut down and said, I can't handle this. And this was a pattern that repeated itself from my childhood days through my whole life. And when I started to change my view on this pattern, and it was like, okay, I was identifying the thought, oh, this is too much, immediately caused a symptom in my body, in my system. So the thought, this is too much, was combined with a physical reaction. For example, tension in the chest. So the body kind of closed, wanted to protect, the brain wanted to protect, oh, it's too much for him, so we have to protect him, so we give him these symptoms. And this is a very fast chain reaction, and our prefrontal cortex doesn't have any time to respond on this immediately. So, in other words, it's not able to interfere. The only option we have is use our prefrontal cortex to see that, first of all, we are not in the same situation anymore. We are not the 5-year-old, the 7-year-old, the 10-year-old. This is something we can acknowledge. And this is a message we're giving back to our scared system. But we want to go a little bit deeper, because we want to make it very clear that this relationship between thought and symptom is really old. And until this point, we were not allowed to feel it. We were not able to process it. We were some kind of the victim of this dynamic. Means symptom, thought, and usually it's all mixed up. We are not able to see that there's a relationship between both. And here's a simple but profound possibility to use this now and to say, okay, I'm getting this symptom and it's combined with this thought, and I stop for a moment. I stop and see, okay, let's say it was a thought of, I'm not good enough, as an example. And this thought of I'm not good enough produces a tight chest. And you acknowledge this. And now here's where the magic happens. This acknowledgement, this seeing that there's a connection between thought and the immediate reaction in the physical body, now it is on the surface. And we see it, and we can observe it. And we can be curious for a moment. We can see, how does it feel like? Where is it in the body? Has it some kind of shape, some kind of form? For some, they can even identify, does it have a color? And then you slowly start to look at this with some curiosity, and also you observe it. So, and this is even more important, you're not identified with this sensation because it's just a sensation. But you are not this sensation. You observe the sensation. You observe the emotion. You see, this is causing sadness in me. Old sadness is coming up. And now this sadness that was never allowed to be there, or you always try to avoid feeling sad, or you always try to avoid feeling angry. You avoided to feel fear. We never allowed it. We were not allowed in the beginning, and then in our life we had no keys to allow ourselves to let these emotions be there. And now we do it. And we say, okay, this is, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking I'm not good enough, and there's a sensation in my chest, or my stomach, or my shoulders tense up, or there's tension in my jaw. Whatever it is. And even this might change from day to day, and even from moment to moment. But what you're doing now is you show some curiosity. You look at it. You allow it to be there. And this is allowance in its deepest meaning, because usually we're using allowance to get rid of the symptoms. You think, okay, I allowed it for 10 minutes, but the symptoms are still there. Now I'm getting better. I allowed it for an hour, but the symptoms are still there. So then you confirm, this is not working, so let's try something else. But you have to see it in the long run, and you have to see that you have to do it constantly, because this pattern is so old. It's very old. And now you reverse a process. And what you're doing now is, first of all, you acknowledge, you face, you see, there's a thought combined with this sensation in my body. You acknowledge all this. And then, as a next step, you can kind of zoom out from this sensation you're experiencing, and you can come to the awareness of your body. And what I mean, awareness of the body, I mean from head to toes, the front side, the back side, the three-dimensional body, some awareness of this three-dimensional body. And the body is a container. And the body can contain these emotions. We can allow them to do their thing. Because anyway, you can't manipulate your emotions. When they come up, they come up. And the more neutral you are, the more you can say, okay, in this container, all these emotions can happen. They have their space. They can act themselves out as long as they want. I'm just observing the scenery, some kind. And as you see and hear, this needs practice. because it's not made for relief instantly. Because what you're showing your subconscious now is that you are able to be with the most unpleasant sensations. You can feel awful, but you practice to be the container, to be the space. So first you see the connection between thought and the sensation, but then after a while you just zoom out from this observing the object. The object is inside this body, and you zoom out from it, because this is one of the patterns as well. We check in all the times with symptoms. Are they still there? And to zoom out and to be just the observer creates a space for the objects, and by objects I mean sensations, physical symptoms, but mainly the underlying emotions. And when you're able to do this more and more, to see that, okay, there is this old pattern of, oh no, there it is again, and you see it, there's a thought, there's the reaction in the body, you see it, you acknowledge, but then sooner or later you zoom out and you let the sensation in your body do their thing. And then in best case, you slowly start to move on with your life, doing things you need to do, things you want to do. And this is there, can be, sometimes it's knocking. And when you start this process, it will even knock louder in the beginning. So you have to be aware of this. But this topic of allowance is so huge. But I think in most of the cases, we think we are allowing, but it's more a mental concept. I'm allowing. So when I allow, I want to have results. And the result is I want to have no symptoms, or at least less symptoms. But that's a trap, because it's the same example. Let's say you love someone, and you tell this person, baby, I really love you, but then you have expectations. You say, okay, when I buy you a new ring, I want to have something back for this. And of course that doesn't never work. And this is the same thing about our sensations, our emotions. Because these emotions, they just want to be processed as pure as possible. And that's why you want to take care that you start to learn to be less involved, to ruminate less, to just let them be there, to give them space to do whatever they like. This is a practice. And this is the deepest sense of allowing unpleasant sensations. It's really, really hard at times. And just especially when you just start with it, you will hit lots of resistance. So it's very important to come back to it, and then you say, like, it's like your child is crying the whole day, and maybe 2 days for some reason. Sometimes the reason is obvious. It might be sick, it might have a disease or flu, and it's crying all the time. And you're the parent, and you're saying, okay, I'm here for you. I give this space, and you can act yourself out, because I can't do anything, because you have pain, you feel anxious, you feel sad about it, you feel fear. So I can't take away the fear from you. But the only thing I can do, I can be here, I can be present and see you for what you are and let you do your thing until it peters itself out. And this can take sometimes just a few minutes, sometimes it's just a glimpse of a moment, then sometimes it takes us an hour, sometimes we can be in a period, in a so-called setback, and that it might take longer. And so your patience is asked. But the more neutral you can be, you can say, okay, I'm the space. I identify with the space rather than with the emotions and the sensations. And they can be there. And if you practice this daily, you will make progress. Because then you will not just show your subconscious that you are capable to experience all this stuff, and this will give safety to the system. And when you're able to do this without trying to have any outcome, any result, any reduction of symptoms, it reduces in its own time. There's nothing to do about it, but you continue this kind of practice. And this topic is so important, and I promise I will make a video about it in the next couple of days, a kind of a guided meditation to go through this process. But for now, you just can allow yourself to get this information, let it sink in. And before I end this video, just at the very end, I want to explain something that's also very important. And that's the explanation why calming down the nervous system in most cases doesn't work. Only to a certain degree maybe, but it will not solve the problem. And here's why. When we go back to the situation, there is this child, and this child is screaming because it feels, let's take the example of fear, because this is the strongest one. You feel strong fear. And imagine you go to this child and say, calm down, nothing is happening, everything is all right. And then you can see the outer situation, and so this child might look around and say, okay, I'm safe, nothing is happening here. This is good, because there's no real threat. But for this child, there is a threat, because this child feels some emotions, like fear. And for the child, it's real in this moment. And if you go to the child and say, calm down, but the child feels this strong fear, these words will not help. And I want to make it very clear, it won't help. So the only thing that helps is when you can hold the space for yourself to allow this emotion to be there, as raw as it is, as unpleasant as it is, as frightening as it is. You allow it. And this is how you build new neural pathways. You see the difference? Because if you're trying to calm down, you're always operating on the surface of things. You, you hope that a technique works at least for an hour to have some relief. And this might work. It's not wrong. I wouldn't say this is an absolutely no-go. And if you're really in the thick of it, if you have techniques that help you to reduce this high level of anxiety and fear, and when you're totally overwhelmed and your alarms go crazy, and if you have something in the very beginning to connect with that, this might work, but it will not resolve this underlying issue. And this underlying issue is your relationship between your thoughts and your fears and these other two emotions. And if you are able to hold the space for these core emotions, you will make progress with time. It will not happen at the very beginning, but with time you will make progress. And this really builds new neural pathways. That's why I'm always saying you don't need mainly techniques. If you want to go all the way, these emotions have to be processed. And the good thing is, and the good news is, you don't need to do anything about it, because they come up when the time is right. When the subconscious trusts in you, you as a person, you are able to process now. It comes up because you can handle it. And if you are starting to have this shift in you to say, okay, I'm able to face it. I'm able to go through it. I'm able to let the sensations go through me. Because when I have this space in me, when I create this space all over again, like zooming out from the object, then the space is there. And in this space, everything can happen. This container is capable to process all these weird sensations, chemical sensations. And you allow them to become neutral again and again. And this is something you don't have to do the whole day through, but again, you can spend some time sitting silent and just with this new point of view, you sit there, you feel what is on the surface right now, what is it? It's the anger right now, okay. So I don't do anything with the anger. We want to do something with these strong emotions. We think, I can't bear it, I have to do something, I have to find a solution. Where are my breathing techniques? And then you even create more stress. And so it's like, and I said this earlier in some other videos, it's like so your subconscious, your inner child, so to speak, is looking at you and is checking, okay, I'm in fear. And how is Matthias reacting? Oh, he's in fear too, so we are both in fear, and so it's all this energy is going crazy. So, but there's this subtle difference between, do I try to calm myself down? Oh, hopefully it doesn't get worse. These attempts, the subconscious immediately identifies that you are involved, that you want to do something about it, that you want to get rid of it. And this pattern is so strong, we don't want to feel it. But now we do the opposite. We go towards it, we allow it to be there, we feel it, we give it space, and this creates a new process. And yeah, this is so important. right, I think it's a good point to stop here. On purpose, I repeated this again and again because our mind is tired. We're tired, tired nervous system. And so these repetitions are so important to send ourselves in a new direction, in the capability to process this stuff. We learn to sit in the midst of it, in the midst of the hurricane or the storm, however you want to call it, and also going on with our lives. So with time and practice, we can use this even in the conversation, even when we have a walk in the park. When this comes, we identify it, we see it for what it is, we allow it to be there, we don't fight it, and this brings the change in the system. All right, so thank you for listening. I think this is very, very important, and if you like this content, please, I will bring up more stuff like this, as you know, and I would be glad if you can subscribe to my channel and also spread it to people who might find this useful as well, and thumb up like always, and leave a comment, leave your questions, everything you like to share, and your insights, what kind of benefit from this video. So I'm really curious to hear what you're thinking about it. And as some of you might know, I also offer a one-to-one coaching. You can find further information on my webpage, and there's a form, and you can fill in this form, and I offer a 30-minute first talk to figure out if we are a good match, and if I can give you some ideas how to go through this process. And so this 30 minutes is just free, and so try it out. And yeah, I wish you a good day, and there's hope, as you know. And bye for now.